curiosity, how many of you got to see or take a peek at the eclipse? Anybody? Yeah.
I'll do 10 minutes.
Okay, all right.
What's that? Okay. In any event, it looked like somebody took a nice bite out of the bottom half of the sun. They only took about 20%, but it was really cool to look at. Anyway, welcome, and I welcome Ann Lindsay, who is president of Life Plan Humboldt. She shared a family practice in Arcata with her husband, Alan Glaseroff MD, for 28 years, while serving as Humboldt County Public Health Officer. She missed COVID, lucky girl. She is committed to improving social connection opportunities for older adults and is founder and promoter and a wonderfully creative individual in terms of making this happen for all of us. So I'm happy to introduce Ann. She's going to give us an update on what's going on.
Okay, I'm going to share.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I'm trying to leave a lot of room at the end, at the finish of my chat to answer questions. And the easiest way, I think, is to click on the chat and type in, this is Joanne Schuch put this together, these instructions for people. So, and I'll be happy to get the questions. And if for some reason you think of a question after the presentation, just email to lph@lifeplanhumboldt.org and we'll get back to you. We love questions. And I'm going to just do a quick review. I recognize many names of people in the audience, so bear with us, but there are a couple of new names and people may not know a lot about Life Plan Humboldt. We are a grassroots effort and we're creating a resident-led, non-for-profit life plan community for active older adults. Now that's a mouthful. Here we go. We started in 2019 and formed a nonprofit by 2020. And those of you who've been around for a while, remember we were called Life Care Humboldt, but for turns out what we're building is a life plan community, and life care community has other implications. But and this is our board of directors. And we have real strong volunteers also. And we've logged over 4,000 volunteer hours. And I know some of the more active volunteers refuse to log in. So it's just a fantastic organization. And we want to thank all of the volunteers and donors, because we could not have gotten as far as we are, and we will not happen without your support. The volunteers work at all levels of the organization. So here's Maggie Banducci and David McMurray tabling at the co-op on senior discount day. And we've so far raised $2.7 million. And we have 40, and I actually counted, we have 50 volunteer ambassadors who've undergone an hour-and-a-half training. And I say it's the easiest volunteer job in the world, because all you have to do is talk to your friends about and neighbors about Life Plan Humboldt and spread the words. And if you're a little more ambitious, you can come and table at events like the North Country Fair and help us out with some of our friend raising events. And right now we're engaged in planning a Raise the Roof dinner and auction and dancing on June 8th at the Fieldbrook Winery. And tickets will go on for sale for that on the 23rd of April. Oops, where's it going? There we go. So we're working actually with architects right now about the design of on the campus, and we're projecting 144 cottages and apartments, and there'll be an additional 40 to 60 homes developed as affordable housing. And I'll explain a little bit more about that relationship as we go on. But our board has had a long-term commitment to access, and that includes a commitment to affordable senior housing, which will be rental units. And we're trying to keep our pricing for Life Plan Humboldt accessible to medium income residents. And all along, we since it's such a grassroots effort, that our effort has been to reflect Humboldt County's values of self-reliance and inclusivity. So here we are. This is McKinleyville, there's Central Avenue. And if you go up Hiller towards the dog park, you'll see on the left side, this south of Hiller is 14.58 acres. And that's what we have a purchase option agreement. That means we're locked in to buy it. There's all of this on the north end is actually, it's owned by Ann Pearson. It's the subject of a big planning process by the McKinleyville Advisory Committee, and there'll be mixed use housing. In other words, store with apartments above it, probably a transit center, maybe a hotel. And all along the western edge of this property is going to be wetland mitigation. So there'll be nice walking trails and seasonal ponds. It's actually going to be a real asset to us to have that across the street. So Life Plan communities work by residents paying an entry fee, which assures you lifelong residence. So you're accepted and pay your entry fee. You won't get kicked out. And usually people pay the entry fee by selling a home. And 80% of the seniors 75 and older are in Humboldt County are homeowners. And it is possible to pay, to get an 80% refundable entry fee, so you can preserve your assets for your heirs. And we'll be have a whole marketing effort and to explain that when it gets closer to the time. But it's important that you understand this is not home ownership. So you will not be paying real estate taxes or insurance or even utilities. It's a monthly fee, will include utilities with an internet, a meal plan, which details of which remain to be worked out, maintenance, housekeeping, activity, transportation, and we'll have actually in McKinleyville, you can walk to almost everything. It's a really fantastic location, but we will have van transportation and assistance with medical management. So there's nothing like this within 200 miles. And many of you know people who've moved away. And, you know, just to get that either to Medford or Santa Rosa, or now there's a new Life Plan community in Healdsburg that's just opened up. But we do have local, we're fortunate to have assisted living and memory care here and some excellent board and care, but we don't have the whole package integrated with a vibrant independent living option along with assisted living and memory care services. And it can be a challenge if people do keep their family members at home, and that can be a challenge, and it can be quite expensive, even up to $30,000 a month if you need somebody night and day. So Life Plan Humboldt's good for us older adults. We'll certainly will not have social isolation unless you want to stay away from other people right there. There's plenty of options for interacting. The fall risk will be reduced with universal design. And so actually, you know, if you have a stroke or break your hip while you're a Life Plan Humboldt resident, you won't be going home to a home with stairs and a bathroom you can't use. Everything will be really accessible. And we're going to offer a continuum of services in one location. And the idea is to live well, have fun, and learn from each other and interact with the community. And I don't have details yet, but we're also are working on a program to coordinate healthcare to facilitate specialty services, because healthcare is a big question here. So it's good for the whole community in that it makes your expenses predictable to residents. So you pay money up front, but it's relatively predictable what your expenses are going to be through the rest of your life. So you're not going to have to pay $25,000 for a new roof, or $20,000 to have the caretaker come, or other things that happen, or your insurance doubles like ours just recently is doing. And it makes it easily for your family or your support people to continue to work without interruption. When they visit you, it can be visit for fun and not for crisis management. And many nonprofit communities provide financial assistance. And by that, I mean that if you pay to get in, you'll get undergo both the health and a financial audit, based on actuarial tables. Do you have enough money predictable, to pay for your expenses, your monthly expenses for the rest of your life? But if for some reason your finances change, you will not be thrown out. So here's a little bit of what we've accomplished. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3. At December 31st, we raised $1 million, and that was really exciting. We all the way up to 11:58 at night, people were sending money in. We signed a purchase option agreement for the McKinleyville property, and we haven't bought it yet, but we are assured to be able to buy it when we get the grand financing, the big financing. We are and have made affiliation with Greenbrier and Kendall. Now, Greenbrier is a national organization that has skilled in setting up and running the timelines and the financial projections for nonprofit life plan communities. And we're lucky to have them on board. And Kendall, we have a pre-affiliation agreement with them, which means we will join their network of 12 other life plan communities across the country that are based on, that follow Quaker values and traditions, which are very close to the values and mission and values that we have posted on our website. We've completed a survey, a wetland study, cultural study, botanical study, and architect plans are underway. And we have actually now an agreement with the Rural Community Housing Development Corporation to build affordable apartments. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So what do we have ahead of us? Environmental impact report is underway. We need lock-in financing of the project. We've raised 2.7 million. We need another 4 million, but some of it's coming in terms of loans from, for example, the Humboldt Area Foundation just approved a $1 million loan to us, which will really help. We have to submit the licensing application to the Department of Social Services. We don't have to be accepted, by that. We just have to get the application in, and Greenbrier is going to help us with that. But after that, we can start what's called a future residence list, or essentially it's a waiting list with a $1,000 totally refundable deposit. We are working on renovating a welcome center in McKinleyville on Heartwood, right adjacent to the property. And we are going to keep working with the architects and landscape architects all the way through to 2025. And at some point in 2025, we're going to start pre-sales. And this means we get 10% deposit on the entry fee. And we have to, in order to get our bond financing and licensing, we have to pre-sell 70% of our units, which would be on current count, 105 units need to be pre-sold. That money, again, is fully refundable. So, and then we close the bond financing. There's lots and lots of money, too many zeros, makes me dizzy sometimes. And then probably sometime early 2028, we plan to move in. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to go over a couple of questions that usually come up. How does the future residence list work? Okay, we send in the application to Department of Social Services. Then we're going to email to volunteers and donors on how to sign up then we'll post it in the newsletter and on the website. And this will be, what that does is for $1,000, it's, can't spend it. It'll be put in an escrow account. And if you want it back, you can get it. But we'll have special events, much like we've had some events so far to get to know your future neighbors. And the Future Residents Club members will be the first to see the final designs. And you be one of the first to reserve the residence of your choice. And there actually, some of the other Life Plan communities I've noticed have other benefits for being in the Future Residents Club, such as getting a discount in your entry fee, which would be, but we haven't set our terms yet, but we'll do whatever Greenbrier and Kendall recommend that fits with our financing. If your name comes up to get a unit, and you're not ready to go, then in our understanding, you won't lose your place on the waiting list. You'll be notified as units open up. And here the photograph is of Rose Villa, which is a really pleasant Life Plan community in Portland. And our board took a field trip up there, and that is Mark Chatton in the flowered shirt. And the CEO of Rose Villa is a Vassar Bird, who's now the CEO of Kendall Corporation. So this is how assisted living and memory care will be handled. We're planning to, as much as possible, assisted living means you need help with your medications or bathing or things, basic activities of daily living. We, to the extent possible, would provide that into people's homes and in their independent homes. We are planning a 12-suite home, separate unit for people who need assisted living level services that need overnight care, perhaps, and so they can be closer to staff. And memory care will also, we're going to have the whole community will be trained about how to interact with people with dementia, and we want to be as supportive as possible. And but we also are going to have a 12-suite home for people who develop memory care problems. But if it's your partner, your spouse, you stay in your independent home, and your partner gets the care he or she needs, and but you're all on the same community. You can just walk to see each other. So here's a good one. Somebody sent in ahead of time. What happens if my partner dies and my finances change? You won't get kicked out. We built into the budget is we have to be very responsible with your money of the your deposits and all of that, based on regulations from the Department of Social Services, and also our bond issuers will be keeping track of that. But and many Life Plan communities, once they're established, have formed foundations, companion foundations that can give financial assistance to people as well. Are pets allowed? Yes. I think there's an answer here. That the thing about pets is obviously have to be pets within reason, and we're looking to Kendall for what their member communities set for pet rules. And I think it's a perfect thing for a resident led organization to establish rules about pets. And actually, one of the most interesting thing I heard is in Portland at the Rose Villa, the CEO interviewed pets before they came into the community, just to make sure they weren't going to be a problem. And if they were a problem, or were aggressive to other animals, then they were put on probation and had to take training. And it's actually, they said one time they had somebody who just the dog didn't work. Whoops. So here's another one. About the affordable senior housing. So this will be a rental unit based on income, and I think the income levels are they're changing, but they depends on the source of financing, but it's anywhere from 20 $3,000 to $25,000 for an individual, up to almost $37,000 to $40,000 for a couple. And the nonprofit, the Rural Community Housing Development Corporation, will be responsible for making an entry list or for their affordable housing. And we'll keep this updated in the Life Plan Humboldt newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed to that yet, go on to our LPH, lifeplanhumboldt.org, and in the upper right corner, you can sign up for updates. So affordable housing. Okay, this is, some of you may have been through this. There's rather complex questionnaires to determine eligibility, and ours will be specifically senior housing. We, as I said, we don't know the eligibility criteria for our project. But let's see, whatever questions people have. I see some things in the chat, so I'm gonna take a look. All right. How many stories are in the building apartments? How much parking will there be? Does each apartment have laundry, or there's laundry rooms? Okay. The cottages are single story and with no stairs. And they will have wide entrances. So, you know, if you need a wheelchair, you can get in, and grab bars in the appropriate locations, and showers with, no lip to jump over to get into. In the apartment building, it will also have our dining, will have 2 and 3 stories. So because the property goes downhill, so we're gonna start with 2 stories, and then as the property gets lower into 3, and then there'll be elevators. There'll definitely be elevators. The parking, we're planning 1 parking spot per unit, and each apartment or home will have a laundry. In the affordable housing, I believe they are going to have a common laundry room. Will the residents have bathtubs? And there'll be, some of the residents will have 2 bathrooms, but generally it's showers. And I think that if you're one of the, you're free to customize. Once you signed up, you're free to customize at your own expense. And if that's something you really want as a bathtub, I think it might be arranged. Garbage disposals, I don't know. Dishwashers, I don't know for sure. I would imagine so. And we really are emphasized with the, since many of us are not really used to living in apartments or duplexes or anything, we emphasize that soundproofing is very important between the units. And what's the storage available in the kitchen and the closets? I can't tell you that for sure. They'll be there. What about barking dogs? See, now that's a discipline problem, and cats will be allowed. Okay, what is universal design? Universal design is such that someone who's mobility challenged or in a wheelchair or walker can get in and function adequately. So there's a number of elements I'm familiar with. And one I really like is that the electric plugs are more like waist level, so you don't have to get on your hands and knees to plug stuff in. There might be switches or motion sensor for lights, so that you don't have to like switch, if your hands are holding on to a walker, you don't have to switch it on. That there'll be grab bars next to the toilet and in the shower, and that the shower itself will be flat level to get into, and so you don't have to climb over a lip. That the doorways are wide enough, that the cabinets and the countertops are accessible, or the right height for somebody who might be in a wheelchair. So that's universal design. And most of us, there's only actually a very small percentage of existing homes that are accessible to people who are mobility challenged. And all of us known people who might have broken hip and can't get home. You know, a friend of mine in San Francisco had a tree fall down on our street and she broke her pelvis and ankle and she had like 2.5 flights of stairs and she had to be in a skilled nursing facility for quite a while because she couldn't bear weight and get home. Eric Nelson, how long is your waiting list right now? We do not have a waiting list yet. We have to get our finances all in order, apply to Department of Social Services, and probably late summer, early fall, we'll start the waiting list. Okay. Here's a good question. How do the residents of affordable housing interact with Life Plan Humboldt residents in terms of meal plans, et cetera? Are the benefits the same? We are planning interaction in terms of common community space, gardens, trails, you know, outdoor amenities, and activities. The affordable housing residents will not be part of the, pay per month Life Plan Humboldt meal plan, although we imagine that they would be able to buy a meal on a, one meal at a time and buy into it. But I do want to make it clear that Life Plan Humboldt is not going to be subsidizing the affordable housing. The partner we've chosen is very adept at bringing down funding, and the pricing will meet the needs of lower income seniors, but it will not be subsidized by Life Plan Humboldt. So the benefits aren't necessarily the same, and we're trying to make it integrated as much as possible. We're planning on having the same architect, for example, so that it's visually interact and the same entry way, so you can really feel like you're coming into one community. But Joanne Shook says yes on the dishwashers. Thank you. And there'll be resident storage areas for each of the residents with option for larger garage size storage if needed. Okay, how does the loan financing work? What are the interest rates, and can individuals provide loans? Are there minimums? At this point, we're working with Arcata Economic Development Corporation and something called iBank that will help issue a guarantee for the loans that were, like, for example, for the Humboldt Area Foundation. At this point, we feel like we're going to get, we have a number of individuals express interest in loaning money to Life Plan Humboldt, but and we have not determined whether we're going to have to tap those individuals yet, because there are other sources or other foundations, like the Headwaters Fund, for example, who would like to loan money to us, and the interest rate to them will be 7.5%. What happens if there's a problem resident? Now, one of that, it would be ultimately up to the CEO, and we plan on hiring somebody who has not only technical expertise and knowledge about running a large community like this, but also people skills. And I've talked to a couple of Life Plan CEOs, and they've all had different approaches, but mostly it's, talking people down and finding out really what the issue is, and sometimes suggesting that they're not happy that another community might be a good place. Halima asks about possible meal plans. Well, I think the one we're floating is you get a certain number of meals per month, like 30, and you can use them like for lunch or dinner as you choose. And but each of the units will have a fully functioning kitchen. So that's helpful. All right, we need any other. If you want to loan Life Plan Humboldt, how do I proceed? You can contact me if you want to loan Life Plan Humboldt money at Ann at lifeplanhumboldt.org. So, and we're not having you contact Arcata Economic Development directly. But I do have a list of people who, individuals who are potentially interested in loaning Life Plan Humboldt money. And we want to make sure that it's a safe place to put your money. We don't want to put individuals at risk. Do cats need to be indoor cats? Boy, I don't know that. What do you, Lima, what do you, there's a lot about cats and birds, and I don't know what the policy might be. Maybe specialized meal plans for people who need them. Yes, I think that we need to, part of what welcoming residents into the community, be finding out about limitations in their diets. And we actually hopefully will have both kind of a informal dining room, but also some kind of a more like a bistro, and then something that's more informal where you can grab and go. So there we plan to have a variety of options available, and we keep saying we want to have it farm fresh. So okay, here we go. Joanne Shook. And Joanne Shook is a board member, knows a lot about this stuff, and she's also a cat owner. So she said typically cats are indoor, so that's good, Joanne. The meal plans include all meals or just partial. The meal plan will not include all meals. Because most people, for example, breakfast at the Rose Villa, they discontinued serving breakfast because hardly anybody ever came. I mean, they had coffee available and you could pick up, I don't know, sweets or rolls or something like that. But most people were happy to wake up when they felt like waking up and eat out of their own kitchens for that. So it also keeps the pricing down for people and makes things more flexible. So not that you couldn't buy more meals. Yeah, here goes Michael Goldstein. Yeah, Ramones is just across the parking lot. Go there for breakfast. So that's but anyway, not that you couldn't buy more meals, but that you wouldn't. What part of the reason to having people a meal plan in itself is to make sure that there's enough support of the community dining facilities to support a good staff, and cooks and servers and all, but also it's an important place. People get together in Humboldt County, people to get together around food. And so we want to encourage gathering. So if everybody eating their own home every time, it would be better than living in your own home in a remote community. But we're really trying to get more gathering, and then when the dining room is not in use as for dining, it could be a place for gathering for things like OLLI presentations. Regarding transportation, our plan is to have van transportation. We don't have the details yet, but that's typically some people can't drive and other people would just as soon get out of their cars. And often they are transportation for medical appointments, which you do by appointment with the van. There can be shopping and cultural expeditions and, going to Center Arts all together, or to the Arcata Playhouse, or the symphony in a van. One of the things we're talking about is having electric vehicles as part of a battery storage for solar, but that's all up in the air right now too. And Joanne, thank you again. She's visited a number of Life Plan communities, and they said food is ample and people can take home leftovers. So her friends actually who are at Willamette View, and at least two of them are at Willamette View in Portland, said they ate better after moving because they gotten tired and bored of cooking for themselves. Do we have a deadline for when do we need to get our funding? Depends on who you talk to. no firm deadline, but Greenbrier, we're just assuming we have it now. And we're waiting for a couple of loan sources to come through in the next couple of weeks, and for some initial funding for the Rural Community Housing Development Corporation to come through, which would help on the shared expenses. And then we're going to continue to fundraise, because even though we will have perhaps lined up enough money with the loans, if we don't have to draw down the loans, and instead we can use donated money and grant money, then that'll keep our expenses down. And Joanne emphasized donations. Yeah, that'll help keep the residents' fees down, which is really a challenge that we think about all the time. The Kendall is also affiliated with Enzo Village in Healdsburg, which is a partnership with the San Francisco Zen Center. And the entry fees for their apartments start at $800,000. And we're one of the reasons that Kendall was attracted to working with us is we're shooting for much, much lower than that. And I've been advised not to talk about the range of fees, Jane, because it's a moving target. In fact, I just today talked with a Greenbrier and said, okay, it's time to update. Now that we have some initial plans from an architect, time to update our financial projections and our timeline. So certainly you're going to know all of that and ahead of time. And we will have, prior to collecting 10% down entry fees from people to secure, to make reservation, actual, like pick out what home you want to live in. We will have experts, sales experts who've worked on and other life plan communities who can help. How do you sell your house, and how do you downsize, and what are the timelines for doing this, and how do you project how your finances are going to run? So you won't be doing it all alone. And if those of us who are not the best planners will get a lot of help. And if for some reason you change your mind after you made a 10% deposit, you get that deposit back. And we've actually heard from our Greenbrier compatriots that oftentimes 40% of the people who put 10% down don't actually move in. So, so I've heard some people anxious about, are there going to be enough spots? We got a lot of people interested. So I think we just have to say, wait and see. We think that they will be. We do have a fundraiser coming up, actually, it's a big party at the Fieldbrook Winery. And June 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. And tickets will go on sale April 23rd, unless you are interested in sponsoring a table, in which case you can contact LPH at lifeplanhumboldt.org. And that's not the final date of the April 23rd is the first date for buying tickets. But last year our tickets sold out within a week. So we're going to have 200 tickets this year. It'll be an auction with Tom Ammerman and Natalie Arroyo as the auctioneers, and with some delightful auction prizes. Dinner with the famous wood-fired pizza from Fieldbrook Winery, and wine, and home cooking with music and dancing. So it's going to be a fun event. This is our second year. And what if you're interested in Life Plan Humboldt, aside from donating and telling your friends, I mean, you can come and let us know either through the website or by sending LPH at lifeplanhumboldt.org an email that you're interested in volunteering or potentially becoming an ambassador. Our volunteers mostly do word of mouth, grassroots advertising. For example, now we have these cards that are announcing their Raise the Roof fundraiser in June 8th. And we're sending them out to all the 40 or 50 ambassadors and asking them to pass them out and spread the word. We also do tabling, in other words, set up a table with some brochures and pictures and information about the community at the Arcata Co-op seems to be very popular. We've done it at the Eureka Co-op and the North Country Fair, Farmers Market. So just any place to spread the word. And we do also have a committee structure with the fundraising or launch committee, we call it. The outreach and marketing committees, and a data committee and a design committee. We have 2 prospective residents and a number of board members working with the architects on that. So there is, we just try to incorporate people as much as possible. And just to make sure that we're designing it with people. Okay.
Any more questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Ann would appreciate having a lot of questions, so please feel free.
Life Plan community in Portland had a 24-hour library. Is that a possibility? Well, one thing, the Humboldt County libraries were almost just across the street, but there has been, we in the on our website, another thing you can do if you support Life Plan Humboldt is go on the website and complete the move-in survey. It's another way of learning. Actually, do have some pricing set there, which is an estimate of what pricing might be, explains a little more about how Life Plan communities work, gives you an opportunity to say, what do you think important? So, a library is something that people really want, or at least a quiet place to go and read. And we certainly can, get newspaper subscriptions and share them there. And other things people want, they want a place, they want gardens and they want outdoor gathering space, but you can put your interests in there. And as we develop the community, we'll take your responses in mind. And the greatest need for volunteers, help spread the word. And I think becoming an ambassador is a good way to do it. The ambassadors do other things like, I started mentioned a number of them, but one of the other things, we have some fantastic bakers, so that when we had our Raise the Roof gala at the Fieldbrook Winery last year, that volunteers or ambassadors brought desserts. And so keep our costs down and increase our fundraising there. They're going to be a gym or exercise classes. We're going to have, one thing is that the club, there's 3 gyms within short walk. The health sport and the club has 2 locations, and Life Plan Humboldt property is located between those 3. There we are planning to have some kind of a exercise facility, with some exercise bikes and maybe treadmill and things indoors, and also a nice trail system outdoors. We are going to have a seasonal pond for wetlands, and we're planning to have a trail going all around that and all through the community. And I think it would be very easy to set up a park course or little exercise options along those trails. Okay. Oh, here we go. About healthcare. If you need assisted living, how will it be charged? I can tell you, you will be charged more, and I don't know how much. And same thing with memory care. I and we'll have to see. It costs more money to provide those services. And we decided, there's life care communities, you actually pay one fee all the time you're there and there's no change. But yet the people who don't need more extensive services end up paying more for something they're not getting. So we decided if you need more services, you pay for them. But that's something that our experts who help in deciding whether your finances and whether it's the right place for you, one of the things they'll look at is your long-term finances. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
There's a question, can you explain how the 80% refund works?
Sure. That we have, although I don't have all the numbers for you, we have two tiers on entry fees. First of all, the entry fees vary depending on whether you want a 700-foot apartment or 1,100-foot cottage. You know, the more square footage you get, the more you pay as an entry fee. And then on top of that, if you pay approximately 60% more on your entry fee, then your estate or your heirs are guaranteed to get 80% of that initial entry fee back when you leave the community or die or whatever. If you leave, if it just doesn't work for you and you leave within the first couple of years, you get an amortized amount back. You don't get 100% back, but the first year, you get a percentage back until after 3 or 4 years, and you figure that's it. But for the 80% back, it doesn't matter. It's when you leave or how you leave. And so in a way, it's a way of preserving the equity of your home, because you put up the money and it's there for your relatives. Extra gym or exercise classes, I think that we could do that, or there's certainly we could make an arrangement with transportation to the gym, and I can go to Health Sport for no charge because of my Blue Cross Anthem insurance, gives me silver sneakers. So I would love to be able to, if they had a class there, I'm sure they would organize a class for seniors, and we could go in the van and work out and come get a ride back home. The next ambassador training, we're having an ambassador training in Fortuna on April 24th at 1 p.m. And again, I want you to let me know if you're interested in that. It's an hour and a half. We need people particularly from the Eel River Valley and Point South. And I see Sandra Little on the phone here. We'd love you to come. But email me at ann@lifeplanhumboldt.org if you'd like to do that. And then we have them every couple of months. So we'll keep you posted. But if you indicate your interest in being a volunteer, then you get on the contact list when we plan ambassador training. Bike kayak storage, yes. There will be storage. And I don't know exactly how it'll take, but that's one thing I heard. I feel that's really important. And we've heard that loud and clear from our move-in survey. Yeah, and I know person asked that has a kayak. And Julie, I'm going to read your testimony. She became interested early on because I knew if anyone could lead this necessary project, it need the leadership of someone like Ann. Anyway, thank you, Julie. We got great teammates here. How does this interact with long-term care insurance? That depends on your plan. And I know, for example, I'm part of PERS because I worked for the county for years, and they will pay, if I need assisted living level services, they will pay. The other thing that we may need to help people mobilize so they can stay in their homes safely and longer is home health services and often the long-term care plans will pay for that. And that would be something that would not, might be a level of care that you need beyond which Life Plan Humboldt's able to provide, but we can certainly facilitate that. And Joanne's always pointed out to me that I guess based on her experience with her parents, is that if you have home health or home health aide, they often have to come on a 4-hour shift, even if you only need an hour's of help. But we've talked to some of the agencies that provide these services, and they'd be happy to, since we're all living close together, split the 4 hours. So you wouldn't have to pay for, 4 hours when you only need 1 or 2 hours of care. So I think that that's another way which would help people stay in their homes safely with the services you need in an economical fashion. Right. Anyone else? Here we go. Even 20-minute segments can the home health workers do. So that's great. Yeah, if you just need help, like a nurse to come and I'm trying to think of what kind of things you might need. Maybe meal preparation or something. Help with shower or dressing. Okay. Yeah, and if that's all you need and you don't want to bump up to assisted living level fees for the community, then you can hire somebody independently to help. As you hear, a lot of this remains to be seen. We're looking at moving in early 2028. So, and I just asked today Greenbrier to redo our timeline. But I don't think we'll have the begin construction sort of in 2026, and that takes a time. But it will be a fun place, and it will be inviting architecture. One thing we did have about 35 people attended, many prospective residents, and we had a 2-day session at hospice donated their room so we could use it there. And the Perkins Eastman architects came, and one of the things they did is they presented, it must have been like 120 photographs of, different kinds of buildings. And we all got, little sticky dots to put on the ones that we liked. And so they incorporated the feedback that we gave for them. For example, it was really popular to have wood siding, and that really popular to have let the outdoors in, so feel connected, even though indoors, to feel the outdoors. And that's one of the reasons actually we selected the architects we did, because we know they feel strongly about that. They're Perkins Eastman, they are. All right. I think
Any other questions? If not, Ann, this is wonderful. We love these updates. It's so very helpful to see what progress is being made, and a lot is being made. And I know a lot of us are interested in getting involved in one form or another. So we'll look forward to doing this again, maybe in the summer, definitely in the fall, if not in the summer, hopefully in the summer. And I want to invite you all to come back, because this is an analogous issue for some of us, on April 15th, Tax Day, on Sharing Your Home, the Benefits, Pitfalls, and Best Practices with Julie and Andre. More older adults are now opting to share a home to age in place. Through real stories of home sharers, learn about practical ways to safely connect with a housemate locally. And that may be a predecessor to joining Life Plan Humboldt. That's an option and an alternative for some.
Okay.
Anyway, Thank you so much, Ann. Thank you, all of you, for joining us and asking your questions and showing your interest. And we look forward to seeing you again.
All right. Thank you for having.
Happy to do it. And please attend our classes. That keeps us alive. And keep your membership. Remember, we have a whole new year starting July 1, and we need you to be joining us so we can keep this program alive and well.
Great.
Donations always help to OLLI as well. by the
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
way. Well, I have to promote what we're all about. I want to continue finding 28 speakers a year. It's just such fun.
But if
And
you have
any of
more,
you-
if more questions come, ask them through the website, or send them to lph@lifeplanhumboldt.org, and we can answer them in the newsletter, or oftentimes I'll either give a call or a phone, it's email to people who have questions. So, we'd be happy. We want to share all the information we have, and I apologize, we don't have all the answers, but it's a good incentive to stay tuned.
Yeah, and
We have a
and if
Facebook
you-
page too, so you could go like us on Facebook, and then updates happen there, and then you'll get notified.
And if you stay engaged, you can express what you're most interested in as well. So
Right.
that's really important. So take care, everybody. Have a fun. I hope you get, if you didn't get to watch the eclipse, this little bite out of the sun this morning. Try to look at it online. It's quite an exciting thing. And Nova had a fantastic program on it last Wednesday, and they reshowed it, and you can go to pbs.org and watch that, because it talks about the entire level of research they're doing as a result of being able to observe. They have planes up there above most of the atmosphere trying to track it. They can't keep up with the movement of the moon across the United States, but they use two planes at different spots to try to keep up, because they move. I think the moon is moving something like 15 miles an hour, and the planes can only do about 500. But they're getting as much photographic evidence as possible. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating what they're learning about the sun. And that's what keeps those of us fascinated with life. Stay curious. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.